The subterranean landscape underneath London's streets could be considered an entire and separate city of its own. The tunnels of the Underground Rail System, bored over a century ago, worm alongside crypts and basements of much older structures and more modern shafts dug to provide water, power, and telecommunications services to London's residents above. In the city's center, within the approximate area marked as Zone 1 on transport maps, the underground infrastructure is particularly dense. New digging work associates with the groundbreaking Crossrail project, still incomplete in the time of writing, has come within centimeters of other existing structures. These underground pathways can be used to traverse the oldest paths of the city without ever setting foot on the street. Greetings, kindred. I am voivodemekhet, and welcome back to our World of Darkness and another look at a lore sheet found within the Fall of London sourcebook for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. And today we're going over London Under London, which is a Nosferatu-specific lore sheet for Vampire the Masquerade. This is actually a lot of fun simply because it's so true. They are constantly finding Roman grave sites, destroyed villages, the city under the city of London. Every time they decide that they're going to expand a parking lot in London, they come across some ancient knight's tomb. Like, we don't take into consideration that this city is actually built on a city. London is so old. And I think that although this is, again, specifically written towards London, this is something that could very well be taken into consideration in other cities with a few tweaking here and there. And the reason I say that is I just got back from Texas, where I was set in downtown San Antonio, where literally across the street from a McDonald's was the Alamo, where they were doing an archaeological dig right there. Like, I don't live in a place where that kind of thing happens very often. Like, I think the biggest archaeological discovery we had in my hometown lately has been a few years ago when they decided to repave the streets, and when they dug up the asphalt, they found the original bricks from when we had a bricked city. And what they did, they just cleaned those and put them back down, and now we have bricked streets again. Like, that's the extent of the fun that we have here. But we're talking about crypts. We're talking about treasures. We're talking about knowledge lost to the centuries being found every time somebody wants to put in a parking meter. That's the kind of thing that you see in London, and that's what I'm hoping is the kind of thing that we have that adds to the World of Darkness in the London Under London lore sheet. So let's take a look. Tube safety. While it is not normally recommended for kindred to use the tube for transport or feeding purposes, your knowledge of this transport system places you at an advantage. You know the layout of each station and where all the CCTV cameras are placed. While you cannot control them, you can take care not to present your face to them, and you know the blind spots in their coverage. As a result, you may attempt a wits plus stealth test at a difficulty of 3, which, if successful, allows you to pass through or hunt in any tube station undetected. Anyone traveling with you can also benefit from your knowledge, should you choose to share it. This is actually very fun. When I ran Fall of London, there was a point where the characters actually did take the tube, and because of that, they ended up being tracked by the local hunters by the Second Inquisition. Um, this is definitely useful as hell if you're getting around things, and the fact that you're allowed to share it with your coterie or other people that you choose to share it to is a nice additive. Um, I like the idea that wits plus stealth will also help you with a feeding, on top of just travel. That's useful. Somewhere to hide. Your knowledge of London's underground infrastructure is good enough to let you hide in desperate situations. Maybe you are being pursued, or maybe you just found yourself too far from your haven, too close to dawn. Whatever the reason, you can attempt a wits plus larceny test at a difficulty of 3 to find a suitable hiding place below ground that will be overlooked by anyone not in possession of similar knowledge. The location could be an old sewer pipe, a maintenance hatch, or a less used section of the London Underground tunnel system. The storyteller may rule on how large or small your hiding place is, and how long you may be able to safely stay there. That's fun. I like that. I like the idea that, like, in a desperate situation, you can go ahead and roll wits plus larceny and just know, oh, there's a maintenance shaft that's never used over there, or there's an air vent that is highly neglected or is never, or there's an air vent that's highly neglected or never used anymore or retired or something like that. The fact that you can find a place to hide if the sun is coming up, if we're being hunted and you just need to get away. This kind of brings me back to the old Nosferatu advantage. Back in the day in the earlier systems, some of the systems allowed each clan to have advantages, and the Nosferatu were able to call fair escape if they were anywhere near a sewer system. Like, they just had the ability to just go and Seacrest out. And that was just something really nice, and I thought world building. I kind of liked the advantages that vampires used to have in the older systems, because you got things like the Nosferatu being able to just opt out whenever they needed to. Network of vermin. You have spent enough time below ground in London to become familiar with the multitudes of vermin and other creepy crawlies that live there. These creatures are more readily available to do your bidding, and more willing to defend you from intruders. Your chances of finding useful creatures in any scene situated underground are increased. I need to play a Nos. Oh my god, I have such a hard time not just rushing in and playing Tzimisce. I love the Nosferatu. I think the Nosferatu have probably... I love the Nosferatu. I think the Nosferatu have probably one of the best discipline sets of any clan. Animalism, yes. Potence, hell yes. Obfuscate, oh my god, yes. Um, even playing a caitiff, like if I was playing a caitiff, those are probably the disciplines I would end up taking anyway. But the idea that under London, the animals, the natural life is so used to kindred skittering around, specifically the Nosferatu doing their thing under London, that you get an extra die when using your animalism, to work with those creatures because they're just so used to you being down there, is a lot of fun. And yeah, I love anything that gives the Nosferatu that extra oomph on animalism. I just find animalism to be a massively underused discipline, at least in the games that I tend to run. Personal bolt hole. In addition to your regular haven, above ground, you maintain a secret underground hideout that you can retreat to where no other kindred can find you, and where you can store valuable items that you dare not leave anywhere else. You do not use it frequently, as to do so would risk its discovery, but Here you are safe from traditional means of discovery and the harmful rays of the sun. Note that this entirely mundane location will not conceal you from those that would use supernatural means to track you, such as auspex or blood sorcery. That's still fun to have this like little extra hidey hole. I do like the idea that like you have a spot away from your traditional haven, because as much as kindred try to hide their havens, I do find that like a good majority of them, the haven ends up being known anyway. This is just a spot for you. This is just a spot where your Nosferatu has their hole to hide in. And I think it's good that I think it's good to be able to have that safety net when you're playing a character that's in the Nosferatu clan, which do not tend to have the safest reputations when it comes to interacting with other kindred in the city. Freedom of the city. Your knowledge of the subterranean landscape of London is enough to let you travel and access important locations without ever needing to step above ground. Once per story, you may transit between two surface locations using underground routes in a manner that would not be detected by anyone watching at ground level. This could mean accessing a private or public building illicitly, like a bank vault, or a secure office, or another kindred's haven, but this would not protect you from any security measures you might encounter inside the building. Freedom of the city is something that I may or may not consider useful. Primarily because as a storyteller, I let the Nosferatu do this kind of thing anyway. Now, getting into somebody else's haven or something like that, not typically. But I don't know. I just feel like the Nosferatu should have ways of getting into most buildings undetected. I don't know. I'd actually. What are your thoughts? What is the community of our world of darkness thoughts of freedom of the city? Is this worth 5 points to spend on? What are your experiences with your storytellers? That's an interesting way of putting it. Anyway, so we have just looked at London Under London, which is a lore sheet found in the Fall of London sourcebook for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. If you found this video to be helpful, please drop a like. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments down below. And remember to share this to a gamer that you think also might be able to benefit from this. I am voivodemekhet. This is our world of darkness, and I am very much looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Good evening.